everyone, welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. I swear I say that in literally every single video of mine, but it's been a rough few weeks. I'm joking. It's been alright. But I haven't had time to film videos. I haven't had the inspiration to film videos. It's been a tricky one. But today I am back with another Mental Health Mondays. I know this is what you've all been gagging for. Like, literally, how vile was that? How vile. But you all want it, so I'm delivering. I have just had a bit of a predicament with Mental Health Mondays. I don't really know where to go with them. I don't know what to do with them, so if you have any suggestions, leave them down below. It would be greatly appreciated. But for now, we're just gonna do another Q&A because that's, you know, that's where we can answer some questions, we can get back into the swing of things and just enjoy it. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. So I asked on my Instagram for any questions and I got rather a lot, so I won't be able to answer all of them. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram, you know, it's where I am most of the time, or Twitter if you want to see the depressing side of me. No, I'm joking. Not really, but kind of, you know. It's Twitter, you know, you can get away with saying shit that you wouldn't on Instagram. Just put it that way. But yeah, we are just gonna sit and answer some questions, and yeah, let's just get into it. First one, how to balance drinking with depression, etc. Also, I love you. Thank you, I love you too. Drinking and depression, drinking and mental illness. I just want to say before we start, I am not a licensed therapist, I'm not a licensed anything, I'm just a girl who's been through mental health problems and have shared them online, and subsequently had a lot of people who want my input on things and my opinions. Everything I say is my opinion and my experience, so I'm not gonna present myself as something that I'm not, but yeah, just want to say that before we start. So, drinking and mental illness. Very difficult subject, because if you're on tablets for mental health problems, you're not supposed to drink, and it says that on the leaflet thing. But as many of you probably seen on my Instagram, I personally do drink. So I'm going to be saying this from my perspective of how I kind of deal with the balance of them. So we all know that alcohol is a depressant. It affects your actions, your emotions, your feelings when you drink, and when you're suffering with a mental illness, having something which is a depressant isn't always the best thing, especially if you're suffering with something like depression, or any of them, to be honest. It's very hard, I think, in our kind of society to go like teetotal and not drink. You have to be a very strong person to do that. I personally don't drink unless it's socially, so I wouldn't come home and have a glass of wine or anything like that, but when I go out and I get drunk. How do I balance it? So all I do basically is I prepare myself for the next day, and I realise that hangovers are not just hangovers, they're a day or two of where I feel like absolute shit and I feel depressed and unhappy and irritable and just sad, really. I'm a lot more emotional at the days after I drink, so I tend to prepare for that. I do that by telling my parents or notifying my parents that I'm drinking. They know that I tend to be a bit more tender, as they would say, after I drink. On the medication I'm on, I still drink, and I'm not telling you to go and do that. All I'm saying is that I personally do, and finding the balance is very difficult. Just be very, very careful if you are going to drink alcohol, and probably consult your GP if you are thinking about drinking alcohol and your medication, because it might be a total like, you cannot do this, or they might be like, we can put you on a different medication which has less effects when it comes to drinking and alcohol, if that makes sense. So just be very careful, that's all I'm gonna say really. Do you think taking a gap year is a good idea for someone struggling with mental health? Personally, yes, I do. I took a gap year, which turned into 4 years. But I think getting out of the education system is so important, and not even just for people with mental health problems. I think with anyone, when you're in education, you're in such a bubble, and like everything is about exams and coursework and work and teachers and school, and you're in this bubble you're in this bubble which is just makes you so tunnel visioned about having to get good grades and all of that kind of stuff, all of that pressure. And when you come out of that bubble, you start to see life as life and understand that there's so much more to life than just good grades and exams and teachers. I think it's so eye-opening personally, and very it gives you a lot more self-growth, because you see yourself as more than just a student. You start to see yourself as a person, and I think that's very important when dealing with identity, and especially at that age you're in such an identity crisis. You don't know what you like, you don't know who you like, you're in such a predicament all the time about everything, that having a break and having a gap year before maybe you go to university or after sixth form, you know, whatever time it is very important, I think, and I would advise anyone to do it personally. I think it's a very good thing. I think it's a very good thing. Is it normal to feel exhausted after DBT therapy? I'm always tired afterwards. Therapy is so draining. So freaking draining. Like, it is so normal to feel that way. I used to come out of therapy, and because I didn't have a very good DBT like one-on-one therapist, I used to come out feeling worse. But when I had different therapy, you've got to remember that it's so emotionally draining that physically it's going to take a toll on you, and it's going to make you tired. And I would just say, after therapy, always be kind to yourself. Me and my mum and I used to get into a habit of like, we'd go to Costa after and just have a coffee and not necessarily chat about what I chatted about, but it was just a nice habit to get into. It was something like that I could look forward to afterwards and know that I was comfortable and safe in that position. But therapy is freaking difficult, and if you're going through it, just be kind to yourself during it and after it, because you're literally like reprogramming your brain. You're so vulnerable whilst you're in therapy. You're at your most vulnerable state. You're almost like naked, that when you come out you're like, oh, I'm back in the real world, like fuck. So I would say just take care of yourself after therapy. A lot of these questions are, how do I stop self-harming? Now that is a very difficult question to just answer in one video. I don't know whether I should do a whole video on it, but if you'd like that, give this video a thumbs up. How did I personally stop self-harming? I would say from going from a self-harm addiction to just having blips every now and then, because I still do have blips. That's not something that's completely gone out of my life yet. However, I'm not addicted like I used to be. How did I stop the addiction? I think first of all, you have to want to stop. You have to throw your whole mind, body and spirit into the idea of recovery and not self-harming. That doesn't go to say that you will just stop self-harming that way, but you have to want it. You have to want to stop self-harming. You have to want to change. I don't always think it's about finding alternatives. I think it's about getting to the root of the problem and why you are self-harming in the first place, which requires you to do a lot of self-analysis, and that's not always easy to do by yourself. So I would say talking to people is very important, being as open as you can about your struggles and understanding that people do understand and that there will be people there who can help you get to the root of the problem, because you're not self-harming just for no reason. You're not self-harming just for attention like some people would think you are. there are reasons why you are self-harming. Even if you can't think of them straight away, there is something wrong, because self-harming is not a normal thing to be doing. It's not a normal thing to do, and it's a negative thing that you have to want to stop. I would also say, like, there was a massive trigger point for me of wanting to stop, and that was that I became scared, and the fear triggered something inside of me to want to stop, because I became scared that I couldn't control myself anymore. I became scared of how serious the self-harm was becoming. I became scared of the effects that it was having on the people around me, and all of that in total made me want to stop. Not being addicted to self-harm is probably one of the best things that it's probably one of the best achievements I can say that I've reached, just because it's such an all-consuming, life debilitating, horrible monster that ruins your life. And I wish that I knew that earlier, and I wish I'd reached out for help earlier. So if you're questioning whether to reach out for help, the quicker you do it, the quicker things get better. That's all I can really say. Do you look at mental health quotes? Yes, I do. I am one for not necessarily quotes, but affirmations and things about the law of attraction and manifesting your future, and I'm a sucker for that. Pinterest, you have my heart. What meds are you on currently? I love you. I love you too, Ellie. So currently I'm on pregabalin. I'm on pregabalin for anxiety. I'm on bupropion, which I can never say, bupropion, as an antidepressant, and clonazepam in the morning and at night to sleep. I'm only on 3 now, which is great, because let me tell you a story. When I went into hospital this time around, for some reason, so firstly they took me off all of my medication, so I went from being on like 8 different medications to nothing, and the cold turkey-ness of it, that cold turkey, that fucking sliced cold turkey ruined me for a few days. I was the most anxious I've ever been. I thought my heart was gonna explode out of my chest. And then when I was put back on medication, they seem to have merged 2 of my prescriptions into one. So I was on about, I think it was like 10 different medications. I was on like 2 antidepressants. I was on like 3 benzodiazepines. It was chaotic, really. I mean, I was out of it for most of it, because being on that much medication just zonked me out. But yeah, really weird. But anyway, at the moment I'm on 3, so that's great. Oh, and I'm on aripiprazole depot, so that means that I have an injection in my arm, not my arse, every month as a mood stabilizer. What inspired you to choose recovery? Honestly, Maddie Bruce. She inspired me so much when I was younger. If you don't know who Maddie Bruce is, go check her out. Go check her out on Instagram. Tell her I sent you. Just be like, hey, we mentioned you in the vid. No, don't really. That's really embarrassing. But she inspired me because I saw that she struggled, and I saw that she was probably the only person on my feed who was actually wanting to get better. And I messaged her when I was very poorly, when I was in my first psychiatric hospital admission, and she replied, and it was like, oh my god, like I felt so emotional because I looked up to her so much. So she really inspired me to recover and be open about mental health and not be ashamed of it. So yeah, I'd say Maddie Bruce. I'd also say myself and my aspirations, because I am quite a driven, I want to say I'm quite a driven person. I work towards goals, and I didn't want my life to be the way it was anymore, so I was working towards different goals to try and make it better. So that kind of inspired my recovery too, but mostly Maddie. What to do when negative thoughts get in the way of your studies? That is so difficult when that happens, because not only does it affect your mind, but it's affecting the physical outcome of your life and your work. I would say you have to really start looking after yourself during times like that. Negative thoughts feed negative thoughts, negative mindset feed a negative surrounding. If you're feeling internally negative, then everything around you becomes a negative, because you're attracting everything that's negative towards you. You can become addicted to these negative thoughts, and they become comfortable and they become home within you, because you feel them so much that you just become used to them being there. I would say challenging these negative thoughts, and you might be like, oh fuck off Marie, but honestly affirmations are incredible. So if you don't know what an affirmation is, it's saying something, for example, like, right, I did a few affirmations last week, and it was when I had my driving lesson, and I have not been very good at driving up until on Tuesday. I sat in my mirror, and I didn't sit in my mirror, I sat in front of my mirror, and I said, I am a good driver. And I said it to myself over and over again. I looked myself in the eye and I was like, I am a good driver. And I tell you what, I had the best lesson I've ever had that day. And I'm sure it's because I started to manifest the good and attract the good points about driving. So if you're struggling with your studies, telling yourself that you're going to fail is going to inevitably make you fail or bring you down. If you tell yourself that you're going to be doing great and you're going to smash exams and you're going to work really hard and you're going to get to where you want to be, then that will happen too. It's really important to grab hold of all of these positive things about yourself and detach yourself from these negative thoughts. Thoughts aren't facts, but once you realise that you can actually control your thoughts, that's when your life will change. Because what you believe is so much more important than the reality in front of you, I think anyway. If you believe that you are good and a strong person and resilient and can make it through your exams, you will do that. And it doesn't matter if at the time you feel like things seem to be falling apart. If you can believe strong enough, then honestly good things will come to you. I truly believe that, and it might sound like some hippy dippy shit, but I'm gonna be making some videos on this manifestation shit, because trust me, I really believe it, and it has helped me change my life. And yeah, also, as I always say, talk to someone. Just freaking grab someone by their hair. No, don't really do that. Grab someone, talk to them, let them know how you're feeling, because sometimes having an outsider's perspective is so important. But also, a problem shared is, as I say, ba-dum-dum, a problem halved. Yes, that's what I always say, because that is true. I'm gonna leave it there. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new, be sure to subscribe and like and turn on that bell. I'm gonna be that YouTuber and tell you to turn on that bell so it notifies you whenever I upload a video. But if you are new, subscribe, because you can join our little mental health gang fam. That's what we're called now, mental health gang fam. Sounds a bit aggressive, doesn't it? We'll have to comment something down below that we can be called. But I love you guys so much. Thank you for being so patient with me. I am gonna love you and leave you. Stay safe, and I will see you all in my next video.